What did a crush do that made you immediately lose interest? Played hard to get. No thanks. If you're gonna ghost me for days at a time and then get pissed off when I don't respond in 0.5 seconds, then that's not my problem. She told me that spanking her teenage daughter didn't work because it wasn't satisfying enough. He would steal people's tips off the bar counter when we were at a bar together with friends. Then he would offer to buy me food with it. No thank you. Well, me and some mates went on a trip to Spain after our leaving cert, and there was this stunning looking girl that got all the attention. The hotel set up a let's get to know each other party with all sorts of drinking games, and later that night, when she was blatantly very drunk, she lifted her skirt and took a dump on the dancing stage. She instantly lost every guy's attention and was laughed off the street for the rest of the stay. Cute girl in 9th grade. There was a party over at her house, out in the country. Had a big ol' crush on her. So she says they raised chinchillas. Okay, everyone wants to see the fuzzy critters. There were about 100 of them. The ammonia smell was unreal. So there's a platform with battery cables on it, and I asked what that was for. She said, here, I'll show you. Have some ready to go anyway. She grabbed a little fuzzy critter, clamped the cables on it, and threw the switch. Without missing a beat, killed that critter. It was bizarre that a teenage girl could electrocute an animal that easily. No more crush. I was actually afraid of her a little after that. It kind of sucked the life out of the party, to say the least. 2 days after our first date, she showed up at my work with a pan of homemade lasagna, a ice cream making machine for my kids, and all kinds of groceries. I was a single dad at the time, and I guess it was some sort of care package for me. I also work about 2 hours from where she lives. When I said she didn't have to do that, she started to cry. Bit of a red flag. She knew where I worked from our conversation. After I said it's not going to work out, she then went to the company website and got my contact info. I proceeded to receive emails and voicemails from her every day for about a week or so. I would block the call and email, but she would change her email. I informed my job what was going on, so they were all aware in case she showed up again. Needless to say, I was getting ball-busted by my coworkers for a long time after that. Called me a sexist for pointing out that she was improperly and dangerously using a power saw. I mean, I get that a lot of guys probably talk down to women using tools, but for fuck's sake, she was so close to losing a hand or worse. Once this girl asked if I knew how to change oil in a car. I say yes, so next day she shows up with her car asking me to change it on our break. I simply asked, did you buy 5 quarts of oil? She proceeded to flip out on me in front of the entire office, small, around 10 people, for assuming she didn't know how to do it cause she's a woman. I said, well, since you know how to do it, guess you can change it then. We all watched from the office window while she tried to change the oil from under the hood. For context, him 6 feet 4 inches, built dude, me 5 feet 0 non-built lady. We were hanging out at his house when he jokingly blocked my way when it was time for me to go and wouldn't let me pass. I asked him to let me by. When he wouldn't, I told him I was uncomfortable and he called me a crazy bitch. That was the end of that for me. I've told this story before, but when I was about 8 years old, we took a field trip to the Field Museum here in Chicago. During our lunch break, I decided to wander off to the gift shop and see what they had. I had a huge crush on this girl named Victoria in my class, and I saw this ladybug ring for a couple of dollars. I knew she liked ladybugs, and I had money my parents gave me to buy something at the shop, so I decided to buy the ring and give it to her. I was really nervous and kept waiting for the right time to do it. I eventually decided to just go for it and walked up to her near the end of the trip. She was with some of her friends, which made me more nervous, but I found the courage to do it. She looked at the ring and laughed. Her friends joined her, and she then tossed the ring in the trash. I was completely devastated and tried hard to hold back my tears. Even though I'm over it now, that completely fucked my confidence with girls for a long time. Looking back, I may have embarrassed her too, giving it to her in front of her friends, which is why she reacted that way, but whatever the case, it's probably the most embarrassed I have been in my life, and it definitely made me lose interest in her. Guy was academic, hygienic, and sweet. Treated waitstaff appropriately. Spoke formally but still funny. Shared things in common. Me. Perfect gentleman. Date ended 10/10 while driving me home at a stoplight. Pointed to a homeless man crossing the street. Said I would stop my car for anybody crossing the street, just not homeless men. Where do they have to be? They're in no hurry. Me thinking, okay, unsolicited and kinda odd. He added another comment. It'd be funny if I run him over. Me. Ghosted him like right after he dropped me off. I went on a date with a guy I met on a Cupid. He was cute. I was into him. It was all good. Then we got onto the topic of our respective careers. I was writing erotica for a living at the time, which I told him pretty openly. I might not have put it front and center on my profile, but it wasn't like it was something I was ashamed about or anything. He laid his hand gently on mine across the table, looked me deep in the eye, and said, "Who hurt you?" I've never straight up laughed in a guy's face before then, but he absolutely refused to believe that I enjoyed writing about sex just because, rather than because I'd been horrifically abused, or whatever. There was no second date. Got so drunk at a party that she shit herself. The smell is really what did it. He talked about how he wanted to loosen up some boring family at a wedding reception, so he spiked their drinks with party drugs. Shit personality. Doesn't matter how hot you are, if all you have are looks, people will notice once you get any one-on-one time with them. He was a complete racist and told me he tried to kill himself the night before because he would rather die than be crushed on by a monkey. This was in 4th grade, and I was shattered. Claimed women were only a sex relief for men and couldn't be as smart as them. Then proceeded to ask me to have sex with him. I was crushing on this girl from afar for a while. We were on the same military training base. One day my friend Drew and I were eating lunch and the place was nearly full. It just so happened that she had come to lunch at the same time, and she and her friend ended up sitting next to us. Drew knew the score and gave me an excited "good luck buddy" look. I was just about to introduce myself. My mouth was open and the words were about to come out when she started talking to her friend. Her voice sounded like a high-pitched Rosine bar. I closed my mouth and turned to give Drew an "I think we are done here" look, but he was too busy silently laughing at me to notice. Met a cute guy and we started talking to develop a friendship and maybe then a relationship. A gay couple, both my friends, was walking near enough for us to see them. He turns to me with a disgusted face and says, "Look at those nasty F***gs, they'll burn in hell." That was the last time I spoke to him.